Hello, my name is Erin Ryan. I will be presenting on the Bluebell Listeria outbreak in 2015. In 2015, Bluebell ice cream was found to be contaminated with Listeria. This multi-state outbreak affected 10 people, killed 3, and resulted in a massive recall and temporary closure of Bluebell production plants. On February 12th, during a routine product sampling at the Bluebell Ice Cream Distribution Center in South Carolina, the South Carolina Department of Health identified Listeria in ice cream. This led to follow-up testing by the Texas Department of State Health at the Brenham, Texas facility, and Listeria was found in Scoops, another Bluebell label, which had been made on the same machines. The test results were uploaded into a national database and ultimately linked to 5 Listeria cases at the Christie Hospital in St. Francis in Wichita, Kansas. This outbreak resulted in 3 deaths. In early March, the CDC had enough information to declare an outbreak and open an investigation. March 13th, Bluebell announced a limited recall of their Scoops label. Bluebell handled the recall by picking up the product directly from stores and hospitals and offered a refund to the public. They stopped a production line in South Carolina. The Kansas hospital tested kitchens and food samples. An ice cream cup manufactured in Bluebell's Oklahoma plant tested positive for Listeria. On March 22nd, state and federal officials notified Bluebell of their findings, and on the 23rd, Bluebell announced a second recall of the 3-ounce individualized cups. On April 3rd, the Oklahoma plant closed and a joint inspection with the Oklahoma Department of Agriculture, Food, and Forestry began. April 7th, FDA identified Listeria and banana pudding ice cream at the Texas plant, and the recall widened, affecting 23 states. On April 8th, 4 more people were identified in Texas. Like the Kansas victims, all 4 people from Texas were previously hospitalized before developing listeriosis, and the cases took place between 2010 and 2015 and were linked to the Oklahoma plant. On April 20th, Bluebell announced a full recall of all products. Listeria was confirmed to be in all 3 production plants on the surfaces as well as in the ice cream. On April 21st, the FDA confirmed 2 more cases, one from Oklahoma and one in Arizona. On May 27th, Bluebell begins cleaning their plants, and on May 14th, they entered an agreement with the Texas Department of State Health and the Oklahoma Department of Agriculture, Food, and Forestry, outlining steps and actions needed in order to get their product back in the market. On November 2nd, 2015, Bluebell ice cream returns to the shelves in all 23 states. It's difficult to ascertain the cost of this outbreak. There has been no total amount reported. Cost would include medical cost, undisclosed losses from recalls, the health department fines in Texas, the people who were laid off, and the 2 lawsuits. Epidemiological review of the outbreak. Once Listeria was identified at the South Carolina plant, a retrospective review of the PulseNet database for bacterial DNA fingerprints ensued. Pulse field gel electrophoresis and whole genome sequencing were used to identify bacteria fingerprints and match patient illnesses to locations where contaminations originated. Several PFGE patterns of Listeria were involved in this outbreak, including 3 rare strains. PFGE identified identical matches linking the Kansas patients to Texas facility and matching the Texas patients to the Listeria found on the floor drains of the Oklahoma plant. The Oklahoma plant sickened people in Texas, Oklahoma, and Arizona, and the Texas plant sickened 5 in Kansas, killing 3. The South Carolina plant, which triggered the investigation, was not linked to any illness or death. The FDA discovered Bluebell had records indicating 16 positive tests for Listeria on counters and floors since 2013, but failed to test their product for contamination. The FDA report found that Bluebell plants did not require test of surfaces that touched ice cream, did not have a written plan to address contamination, did not mandate test of frozen treats, did not examine why sanitation treatments had repeatedly failed to kill Listeria. Employees were recorded not washing their hands before working on the ice cream. Employees were allowed to wear their own shoes that were possibly contaminated into work. The state and federal response was adequate. In early March, a problem was identified, and by April 20th, there was a full recall. The FDA and CDC acted quickly to stop any further outbreaks. Through appropriate use of the Pulse network, cases were identified and quickly linked to sources, allowing for effective notification and action. The public, retailers, and hospitals were effectively notified through recalls and press releases. Strangely, the public did not return most of the ice cream for refunds, but they were actually found to be hoarding it and selling it on the private market, including in eBay. The investigation and actions were adequate, but prevention was not. Listeria can be very difficult to get rid of once it contaminates a processing facility. Industry standards need to be improved. As early as 2008, Bluebell had received warnings from the health department of increased risk of Listeria in their factories. Even once Bluebell knew it had Listeria problems on their surfaces, they failed to test further, claiming they were following industry standards. The FDA needs binding recommendations. Currently, the FDA offers non-binding recommendations to frozen food industry on how to keep the threat of Listeria at bay. A change in state health department testing procedures is warranted. The South Carolina Health Department tests routinely, but the Texas Health Department, who inspects plants monthly, does not test for Listeria. As this case shows, companies cannot be relied upon to self-regulate. Compliance of the hospital reporting needs to be improved. There is one confirmed case of Listeria in Houston, Texas that was not included in this outbreak study because the hospital failed to appropriately report the positive test. This man successfully won a lawsuit against Bluebell ice cream. There needs to be increased public awareness. The health department should consider a campaign to expand public awareness of Listeria, the third largest cause of death in food poisoning cases. In summary, it was luck that a routine test in South Carolina caught this Listeria problem. If this had not happened, Bluebell would have continued operating as usual, the previous cases would have remained unsolved, and more people would have been sickened. Food safety is important, and the FDA should look at this case as a warning sign to consider increasing regulations to prevent future outbreaks, particularly work to protect vulnerable populations. Thank you.